Hi everyone! Welcome back to Chit Chat with Aunty Mary. And for today's episode, we have Jeff again, my lovely husband, who will be talking about a topic that is very close to his heart, and I guess my heart too, which is positivity. I'll start with the question. What is positivity?
Yeah. What is positivity? I feel it's like something an auntie would ask a young person, right? So positivity, I view it as how one interprets what's happening around them in the outside world. It's having an optimistic outlook.
Okay.
And whatever happens in the day-to-day life in different scenarios is you always take an optimistic view and a perspective on those things.
Okay. So you're saying optimistic outlook view on things. So positivity would be, for example, right? Let's say if I got into a fight with someone,
Yes.
with my boss, for example, and because I'm a very positive person, I will see it as, this is actually a learning opportunity for me to be better, and the feedback that he's given me is actually very helpful. While I might not agree with everything he says, I still find it very useful, and I can use his feedback to be better.
Yes, that is correct. But I will say that positivity doesn't mean that you don't have to be positive and happy all the time. Of course, like for example, in that scenario where your boss, you disagree with your boss.
Yes.
You can be sad. You can be angry. That's still okay.
Okay.
But then overall, like the takeaway from that is you are positive.
Okay, so that means you bounce back very fast.
Yeah, it can be fast. I think it can also take time, but overall, it's just making sure that you bounce back and are optimistic overall.
Okay.
And not spiral down into a negative mindset.
That means that a negative mindset would be the opposite.
Yeah. So, for example, like going back to that example, you disagree with your boss. Maybe it gets into your head. You start thinking, why is my boss like this? Why is my boss so unfair? My boss treats these other people so much better. Do they not like me? Is my work not good enough? And then you just start spiraling down more and more.
Okay. So positive outlook would just be a optimistic view of a situation, good or bad, and how they bounce back
Yes.
to normal range.
Yeah.
Okay. Understand. So based on that, right, like where do you think you are most of the time?
Yeah, so this is something, and this is why I wanted to speak about positivity.
Okay.
Is right now, today, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, most days I would say I probably like at a 7, maybe an 8.
Okay, it's
I would
very
say
high.
that. How about for yourself?
7 or 8 too?
7 and 8, okay. Before it was, and before I mean like from high school onward, for a long period of my life, I was probably like a 5 or even a 4.
Okay.
A lot of times.
Okay.
And it's something I realized that whatever happens around you is going to happen. It's really up to you, and you're in control. And it's the choice that you make of how you want to interpret what is happening around you.
Okay.
Right.
So why do you think, if we could maybe deep dive a little bit deeper, why do you think you were 4 to 5 when you were a lot younger?
I think I was more negative because I didn't know that I had control over how I responded to the things happening around me. So I always just had this negative filter and this negative lens on, and I didn't realize that I had this negative lens on until yourself and the other people in my life kind of pointed it out, and then I realized that, oh, actually I do have this negative lens. And once you lift that and you put a positive lens, things just become so much better. So I think when I was younger, I didn't realize I had this negative lens of like viewing the world around me.
Okay, can you maybe describe a bit further how that negative lens impacted you, or how would it get activated?
My own belief is that I think a lot of it comes from a feeling that you're not in control of what's going on. And you get into this negative spiral where you feel that you're not in control, and then you just it starts cascading down more and more. So say, for example, like even something small, like it's raining outside, right? And then you just start thinking, oh my God, it's raining outside. It's so shitty. It's so dark. Like, oh, I have to go walk outside. It's going to be so wet. What a shitty start to the day. The shoes are going to be ruined, all these things, right? And then you just start spiraling. And then once you get into this negative mindset, then everything you view in the world just starts becoming negative. And you start getting very irritable about everything. So then maybe you're walking on the street, someone bumps into you, someone's walking a bit too slow in front of you, you get really annoyed. You go to the supermarket, the person is just kind of in the way, or like what you wanted to buy isn't there, and then you get really annoyed. So it's like all these small things just start building up, and then you have this like shit lens, and then everything just starts looking like shit all around you.
So it's almost like screw everything, the world sucks.
Yeah.
I am a victim. I cannot control things. I am a victim of this world. Everything is not going the way I want. I am very poor thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that is like the greatest expression of like having this negative mindset is you become a victim. You have this victim mindset and you just think that the entire world is out to get you or the entire world is against you. It's so unfair. Like everything bad is happening to you and it's only happening to you. And you just get weighed down on this and you start feeling sorry for yourself. And then it's really hard to kind of dig yourself out of that. And it becomes self-reinforcing. This story, this narrative just keeps playing in your head. And it's very difficult to break out of.
Well, I would say you're definitely not like that now. But I can see what you mean and how that mindset, I mean, no one's perfect, right? I feel negative sometimes as well. And there are moments where you are also negative and that sometimes emerges. But I'm just curious, right? If you feel like that growing up and when you're during your lot younger days, how did you use that energy to fuel it into your life goals or your life purpose? So for example, for me, right, hypothetically, if I'm a very negative person, I feel like I would see everything through a very negative lens, and then I would be a very horrible person. I'm just trying to imagine, okay?
Okay.
I would be like, screw everyone, life sucks, everything is not going my way because so-and-so is the one causing harm to me. I am not successful because so-and-so has an agenda against me. I am not doing well in my career or not doing well at school because so-and-so doesn't like me, which I can imagine is a victim mindset, right? And when you feel like that, I guess the attitude that you have around people and around the environment, how do you actually then use or how do you like eliminate or how do you create a different energy or use that same energy to like fulfill your own goals?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. So it comes down to your subconscious choice. If you're negative, and you see this in media too, it's like you always see the comparison between light and dark. So positive, negative, light and dark, Jedi versus Sith, Autobots versus Decepticons. So if you choose that dark side, and you see a lot of athletes doing this too, they say, oh, all these people, all these haters, like they don't understand me. So I'm going to use that to fuel myself to prove them wrong. So it comes from like a darker place. And I think that's okay.
Short term.
It's short term, yeah. I don't think it's very sustainable long term to drive towards success like that. You're just going to get burned out. You're going to get tired. And then you're just angry all the time, right?
That's true. I remember when we were younger, maybe 10 years ago, you said that it's your insecurity that drives you to succeed in life. It's an ambition that I have, and because I want it so badly, and it's my insecurity that actually gives me that drive and feel to succeed. But obviously, you have evolved from that mindset, right? That was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And why do you feel that's not sustainable?
It's not sustainable because it comes from like a place of anger and hate and like negativity. You can only do that for so long, I feel. It kind of caves in on itself and it just consumes you in a way that's not very healthy. Versus if you have a positive mindset and you do it more out of joy, out of love, out of a place that is from the good side, then it's a lot healthier and it's a lot more sustainable.
Okay. And I would imagine for someone who is maybe inherently more negative, it could be biology, it could be the way they were brought up, as you mentioned, or it could also just be maybe circumstantial, right? Like if things always don't go your way, even though you're a super positive person, naturally you'll be like, oh, screw it, man. Like life is so hard. How can I be positive when like things don't go my way? So hypothetically, let's say you are very, very, because of things that goes wrong, or maybe your biology or the way you were brought up, you're just naturally a more negative person. How does one change to be positive then?
Yeah. And this is also very dangerous too, because I feel there's a lot of media and a lot of gurus out there that say, oh, you just need to have a positive mindset. And there are a lot of books and podcasts that say it's so easy. It's like you just flip a switch and you just need to be positive and then your life will change. But then, of course, there are a lot of people that are struggling. Like they're living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe they get fired. Maybe they need to feed their children. They don't know how they're going to feed them.
Or they have depression.
They have depression. They have bills to pay. And that really weighs on them. And in times of my life, I've been at that point too, right? But again, it comes down to you. You have a choice. You have a choice of, are you going to get consumed by this? And are you going to get into a negative spiral and just be stuck there? Or are you going to say, you know what? I'm going to still, despite all of this, I'm still going to have a positive and an optimistic outlook, because no matter what your circumstance, there are always things to be grateful for. It does not matter like where you are in life or like what is happening, there's always something to be grateful for. So you have a choice. It's like 95% of your life can be just horrible things. Maybe that 5-10% are things that you can be grateful for. It can even just be small things like, wow, I have a bed to sleep in tonight, right? Like small things like that.
Okay,
right?
so what you're saying is that by practicing gratitude, you feel that one could make that choice to feel gratitude, and it will be easier for that person to maybe flip that switch, not automatically, but progressively to feel more positive in life.
Yeah. And I wrote this down here, so I have a few notes. There's internal positivity and there's external positivity. Okay. So internal positivity is your mindset. External positivity is the energy that you give off. So for your internal positivity, and this, I'm going to read it because I feel this is really important. Your perception of reality becomes your reality.
Okay.
What are the stories and the narratives you're going to tell yourself about the situation around you? And how is your mind interpreting the external inputs?
So that means, right, for example, let's say if in my head, right, I'm thinking, oh my God, Aunty Mary is going to be a flop. Aunty Mary is going to be, she's so lame, and no one's going to listen to her. And then I'm still out here doing the podcast. Do you think that what you're saying is that my perception of reality becomes my reality? Then in that way, I will behave in a way such that I cannot be completely myself. I would say things that are very guarded because I feel that people would think of me in a certain way. And my podcast will probably flop because maybe I am very hesitant to share certain information, or it's very guarded because I have this perception of myself. And then the outcome becomes the reality because of the way I think. And then even though I really genuinely want to launch this podcast and I believe in it, the way I think will affect the reality of my outcome.
Absolutely. And we talked about this a few times, is manifestation. Whatever mindset you have, whatever the stories that you're telling yourself, it's going to seep into your subconscious. So even if you're outwardly trying to fake it and you're trying to fight through it, like it's going to show. Like people can tell pretty quickly how you're really feeling inside. So if you're thinking that the podcast or your work, whatever it may be, is going to be flop or you're not good enough, all these things, it's going to show. And you're going to hold back and people are going to be able to pick that up.
Yeah, then I'll be like, oh, okay, it's not getting that many views, or people are not really listening to it, and I will become self-deprecating because maybe I hold myself back and I cannot really go all out.
Exactly.
Then in that case, if your perception of reality becomes your reality, then in order for me to truly believe in it, or for someone to truly believe in something, they would have to like live that life like they have already achieved it.
Yes.
I would have to, in this case, I would have to be like, I am the new Diary of a CEO. I don't know, okay. I am the new Mel Robbins. I am, who is Aunty Mary? Everyone out there, imagine I have 1 million people listening to me.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have that positivity, and you can't do that for yourself, who's going to give it to you? No one's going to give it to you, right? No one's going to give you that positivity and that belief if you can't believe and be positive yourself.
Then why do you think it's so hard for us to believe in ourselves? Why is it so difficult?
In today's society, I feel we've become very self-critical.
Okay.
And one of the issues in our society today is social media. As humans, we compare ourselves to what we see all the time. On social media, the things that get the most likes, that are the most popular, are the things at the very extreme. So extreme success, wealth, beauty, all of these things that you get bombarded by this. Inevitably, you're going to start comparing where you are with this. And then you get very critical. And then you start thinking like, why am I not like that? How come I'm not quite at that point? Even if you're just doom scrolling, right? Then it's just going to seep in. And then that doubt will start eating away.
So you're saying that a lot of times that we're negative is because we compare ourselves to people?
I would say so, yeah.
So if we don't compare ourselves to people, we will be happier?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I'm willing to bet if you were to measure the happiness of the general population and like whether they're positive or not, pre-social media, I bet people were a lot happier and a lot more positive.
Then all the youths are screwed, man. Yeah. They grew up with social media.
Yeah, look at Gen Z. It's like, there's a lot of issues, right?
I mean, I agree. I think thinking about it, when we were younger, I mean, our parents were really comparing ourselves to your neighbors, your cousins, your classmates. And that was already a small pool, and you still feel very shitty. But I imagine now there is a much bigger pool to compare yourself to.
Now it's the entire world, right?
Yeah. Then, if that's the case, it's so difficult though, because it's human nature, right? Our biology wants us to be better. Our biology also wants us to be happier. But it seems like all the survival needs trumps the psychological need so many times. Then if that's the case, how does one maintain a positive mindset every single day?
Yeah, and that's the challenge. That's really difficult. Aunty Mary, you're one of the most positive people that I know.
Oh, no.
And I bet even you sometimes have points where it might be a bit negative.
I would say, okay, maybe compared to you, now I would say we are quite positive together. But compared to you in the past, I was definitely a lot more positive. The reason why I'm more positive is because I feel like I'm always in control of my situation.
Yes.
I think my ex-boss said this to me: don't be a victim, be the player. That means that you're always in control of the situation. You can always be in the driver's seat. So every single situation or shitty situation that I tell myself, I've always like, you know what? I'm in control. I'm able to create a narrative that will work for me. And this feels like I'm in charge of the situation. Feel like I can take the driving wheel and drive it into the direction that I need. And I think that helps me stay positive.
Absolutely. Different things, they're going to be external inputs that are going to happen. No matter what you do, these things are going to happen. And it's your choice, and you're in control of how you respond to those things. Another example I wrote down here was a bad situation can be viewed both negatively and positively.
Okay.
Like bad situation, any situation, right? And I wrote down here, it's a lot like, Schrodinger's cat. Before you open the cat's in the box, you don't know if it's dead or alive. So before you open it, it's both dead and alive at the same time.
Because you don't know.
Yeah, it exists in both states. So once you open it and you see it, then you know if it's dead or alive.
Correct.
So I view any situation in a very similar light. Every situation can be both positive and negative. It's completely up to you how you view it and how you respond to it.
Okay, so it's what you're saying is to your own interpretation.
It's entirely up to your own interpretation.
Okay, but let's say, right, that situation is very obvious that will allow one to have a negative mindset. So say, for example, maybe this particular person is suffering from cancer.
Okay.
Has a few months to live. Can we apply this model to see how that would
Yes.
impact one's mindset?
Yeah, this example is something that I thought about quite a bit because my father had lung cancer and he passed away about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I saw this firsthand.
Yeah.
He had cancer, right? The doctor told him he had about 6 to 12 months to live.
Yeah.
But he was still optimistic. And he was optimistic because he had a sense of control. He knew that the doctor was going through different chemo treatments. He knew that my mom was helping him with different natural supplements and he was exercising. He was trying to maintain it. So he had that sense of control. And he was staying very positive, right?
How long was that for?
That was so the doctor initially told him he had about 12 months.
Yep.
He lived beyond that for up to about 3 years.
Yeah, stage 4.
Yeah, stage 4, and he surpassed it. And where I saw he really deteriorated and right before he passed away was when that sense of control got taken away from him. When the doctor said, "I'm so sorry, but there are no more drugs. There's no more treatments that we can do. This is it." And that's when I saw that his condition deteriorated within 2 to 3 weeks and then he passed away.
Yeah.
So the human mind is incredible because the stories and the narratives you tell your mind and yourself can actually translate physically to how your body is.
Yeah.
So even for something as terrible as cancer, right? You again have a choice. And my mom and I, we spoke about this all the time too. So we said, yeah, it's terrible that my father, he passed away and he had this like very limited time. It was very clear, like you're going to pass away, right? Within this time. But the positive way, the optimistic way of seeing it is, hey, at least we know that we have this time together. And we always said, could you imagine if he just passed away suddenly from like a car accident or like a heart attack the next day and you had no forewarning? It just happened instantly, right? You didn't get that time to really prepare and say the things you want to say, share the stories, right? And build up some of those memories. That's, again, like another optimistic way of viewing a terrible situation.
So let's say someone who is suffering with negativity, maybe is also slightly depressive. What are some concrete things that they can do?
I will say if you're depressive, if you're in that state, definitely go see a mental health professional. Like I did that during my younger time as well. Really nothing wrong with that. It's like go see a psychologist, see a psychiatrist. Massive help. So if you're depressive and if you're in a really bad state, like definitely go seek professional help. If you find yourself in a negative mindset, like here and there, then one concrete thing that I started doing, which helped tremendously, was daily mood scoring.
Yeah.
Before I go to sleep, I give myself a score from 1 to 5. 1 being very bad, 5 being this is the greatest day ever. After I give myself that score, I write down 2 things that I'm grateful for from that day. I just have a Google sheet. It's on, I bookmarked it to the front of my phone. So right before I sleep, I'll just go add a score, write 2 things I'm grateful for, go to sleep. What I realized was, I think we listened to a podcast from Joe Dispenza, right?
Yes, Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, and he mentioned something about how right at the time when you wake up and the time right before you go to sleep is when your mind, you can actually tap into your subconscious. I might be butchering this, but you can tap into your subconscious. So that's when you do some of these activities. I kind of view it as you're preloading your brain with this like positive energy and this positivity of gratefulness and how you viewed the day, not emotionally. And then that gets loaded into your brain. And then when you sleep, it kind of cycles through. And then when you wake up, that played through your brain, and then you can continue with your day. That's helped me a lot. You start writing it down, and then you can go back and you can view all the days and all the months of the things. And it's very fun to read the things you're grateful for.
So keeping a journal while also giving yourself a score and also practicing gratitude, you feel, especially at very specific times of the day, either in the morning or at night, where I guess your state is, your mindset
It's like more flexible, I guess.
more flexible, right? Allows you to stay more positive and be more self-aware.
Yeah.
I should definitely try that. You love logging things, so that's very easy for you.
Yeah, like very systematic things.
He does.
Very planned. So
Awesome. No, I think that's a very good tip to share for someone who might be dealing with such issues. Another question that I have, then do you think that positivity is equals happiness then?
I think they're definitely related. Positivity is whether you have an optimistic outlook on what's happening in the world, and then happiness is the emotion that you feel from it. I feel a lot of what we talked about was the internal positive mindset.
Yeah.
I think happiness, what you mentioned, that ties more into the external positive energy that you give off.
Okay, so happiness is an outcome.
Yeah,
Positive is a mindset.
Positivity is how you receive the world, and then happiness is the emotion that you feel, and that emotion is what gets radiated out and what people will perceive and what they see.
Okay, so there's definitely a strong correlation, but it's a little bit different in that sense.
Slightly different. I would say slightly different, yeah, but closely related.
Okay. So if that's the case, if you are not positive, then you are not a happy person. Right?
Yeah, like if you're negative, then you can, I mean, you've probably seen like negative people, right? It's very obvious.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's fucking obvious that they're negative. It's like they're just Debbie Downer, complaining about everything. Like that sucks, and like no solutions.
Yeah.
Think about it. Do you want to be around someone who's negative all the time, who's just like shitting on everything? No, right?
But sometimes, sometimes people are going through a bad day and like energy. So energy is very important. I think it just comes down to energy.
Yeah.
It comes down to energy.
Yeah.
If you radiate good energy, you are happy, you can achieve your goals because you manifest those goals, it'll be a lot easier for you.
Yeah. I reminded myself of this too, is if you're negative and you give off negative energy, you're playing life on hard mode.
You think so?
Yeah, it's like life is hard as it is.
Yeah.
If you're negative, you're just making things so much harder on yourself because you don't get bonus points. It's like if you're successful with a negative mindset and negative energy, nobody cares, right? No one wants to be around you. Terrible, right?
Okay, so what you're saying is that people who are negative in life, it's harder for them to achieve their goals because they are not happy most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle.
Yes, absolutely. I read this book from Ryan Serhant. I think a lot of people will know Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing, the New York super agent. So he wrote a book called Big Money Energy.
Yes.
And I know the title of the book is pretty bro Wolf of Wall Street, but the content is really, really good. So the first principle he said, and I wrote it down here, is when you can't change your circumstances, there's one thing you can change, your energy. That is somewhat tied to the internal mindset, is whatever happens, whatever external stimuli happens, you're in control of how you receive it. And likewise, you're in control of the energy that you give off. You can choose whether to give negative energy or positive energy. And negative energy will attract other negative people and other negative things, right?
Yeah.
It also goes back to manifestation. is you keep thinking these negative things, you put out negative energy, you're going to attract, you put out shit, you're going to get shit. That's basically what it comes down to.
I know. I love Ryan Sohan. He's so positive. I just have to share. I remember I had a very serious meeting once and it was virtual. It was a lot of people. And you know how you have meetings, especially with an Asian audience, people don't really give reactions in their...
They don't really respond.
They don't really respond. Most of the time, it's like everyone has their camera off. No one says good job, whatever, right? I knew that I'll be going into a big meeting, talking to like 50 people on Zoom with very meh energy, and that would affect me. So in order to go for the meeting, what I did was I actually watched like video clips of Ryan Sohan before the meeting to pump myself up. Pump myself up so much that I went into the meeting, I was like, hi everyone, today we're talking about da 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 da, and like, how you feel about it? And like as if I was running my own show. And
it transformed, right?
It transformed, I think so, but I felt great.
Yeah.
And I think because I felt great, actually funny now, like a colleague reached out to me and said like, oh my God, awesome presentation. And despite the energy in the room, I was able to control myself. I was able to take control of the situation by watching Ryan Sohan's video. So Ryan Sohan out there, my God, thank you so much. Watch his video, get pumped myself, and ran the meeting like as if everyone was giving me a clap already.
Yeah.
You know, when like all the screens were switched off, no one said anything, there were no questions. I eventually got some questions because I was really trying to pump people up, but I ran the meeting like as if everyone's engaging, try to be, crack jokes here and there. And I could have been very monologue because of the energy that I receive. So I think what you say is just true. It's, and you have to come off and good to give it energy. And eventually I saw actually people, started responding. So energy is contagious.
Yeah, that is one of the issues I see not only in Singapore, but in Asia, actually in the world, is that there is a lack of this positive energy and there's not enough of it that goes around. Even for people to be very positive, it can be very draining. It's like very tiring, right?
Yeah.
To be positive all the time and to like hype people up. And especially if you do that and you get like this meek response.
Yeah.
I think that's why you look around the world. A lot of these people, okay, Ryan Sohan included, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
A lot of these gurus, right? Yeah. They go around, they charge like thousands and thousands of dollars.
And people are willing to pay.
Yeah, people are willing to pay for that and they go in person to like their seminars.
Yeah.
And whether, of course, like some of it is controversial, but looking past that, you look at like, okay, Tony Robbins, you look at his energy, incredible, right?
Oh my God.
The stage presence.
His energy is so contagious. So what he does before all his shows, he goes on a trampoline. Jump, 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 jump.
I've never been to a Tony Robbins seminar, but he's a pretty big guy. He's 6'6", 6'8", something like that. He's like over 2 meters tall. He's a massive dude. And then he goes on stage, hundreds, if not thousands of people and just pumps them up. And he does it for hour after hour after hour for like multiple days. And people are willing to pay thousands of dollars for that.
Because they want to catch his energy?
I think they want to catch his energy, yeah. And then that is infectious. And that is something that they hope to receive and then possibly be able to generate that themselves.
Actually, you know what? On that energy, right? Even if Tony Robbins was having a bad day, but the fact that he jumped on the trampoline, like, hi everyone, today we're he also, because he fake it, it's like literally fake it till you make it, and like he creates that positive energy and spreads that positive energy to people.
Yeah, I don't recall where I read this, but I read something where even if you don't feel positive or happy, if you just force yourself to smile, like as stupid as it sounds, you force yourself to smile, it changes something in
your biology.
Yeah, like it changes something in your body where it just uplifts you versus like you're not smiling or you're frowning. Another thing that I saw from Ryan from one of his episodes was he was recording an ad, I think, for his agency.
Okay.
And he was very positive, like very amped up. And then during a break, he got a call about some deal this massive deal he was working on just completely fell through. And then you could just see his mood completely drop. And then he's just thinking like, oh shit, like what am I going to do, right? And then within 10 seconds, he turns around, goes back to the camera, and he's just like amped up again, like filming the ad. That takes like incredible mind power to be able to do that.
But it's still within his control.
It's still within your control. You can still control it.
He probably felt like shit in his head at that point of time. But because he amped up himself, he was able to fake it till you make it.
Yeah. And this comes from my own personal experience. Is some people might feel that it's so difficult. Like I can't give off positive energy. I just feel negative. That might be easy for you or for other people, but it's so difficult for me to be able to give off that positive energy. And this is what I'll say is, you know what? If you want certain things in your life, if you want to achieve certain goals, you have to be positive. It's like there's no way around it. If you want to be negative, sure, can you be successful? Maybe, but it's going to be way more difficult. So if you want to achieve those goals, too bad, you have to be positive. You have to figure out a way to do it.
Then again, sometimes they can just use your insecurity to like find that short-term energy, but in the long run, it's not sustainable. But then finding a way to do it, you're saying that it has to always be positive.
I think in the long term, overall, it has to be positive. It's not realistic to say you need to be positive 100% of the time. You need to be like very optimistic, positive all the time. Not realistic. Of course, there can be some percentage where you won't be like that. But overall, I would say yes.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. This has been very helpful. If we could summarize, what are some key takeaways that you want to share with the audience here?
I would say 2 big takeaways. Takeaway number 1 is that you are in control. Never forget that. And takeaway number 2 is that when you can't change your circumstances, there's one thing you can change: your energy. And again, the energy is in your control. Yeah, so those are the two main ones. And your perception of reality becomes your reality. I think that's all. Is there anything else you want to cover, Aunty Mary?
From Aunty Mary perspective, well, I would say that it's everyone's a work in progress, and it's okay to feel negative, and as much as it's awesome to feel positive. I hope everyone's more positive, but there will be days that we're negative, and the advice that you give, the tips that you share, I think is very helpful. Hopefully, we can all be a better version of ourselves through this journey and have a more positive outlook. The more positive we are, the easier for us to achieve our goals, and then the world will be a happier place. That's all.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, then in that case, thank you so much for listening and watching our episode on positivity with Jeff, Chit Chat with Aunty Mary, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.